After Prometheus defied the gods and gifted fire to mankind, the heavens burned with fury. But what the gods did not see was that the fire was never just flame, it was knowledge. And once lit in the heart of man, it could not be extinguished. Years passed, generations rose and fell. The myths of Titans became whispers, and yet, beneath the calm surface of the world, something began to stir again. In the great city of Athens, where marble temples shone beneath the sun, Callias walked through shadow. He had seen the golden tablet, had heard the whispers of Prometheus in the depths of his dreams. The fire of knowledge now lived within him, not as a weapon, but as a calling. He felt it every night, the pulse of something ancient beating beneath the world. Then, one evening, as the crimson sky dimmed over the Aegean Sea, the stars shifted, slightly, impossibly. And Callias knew the time had come, the fire had begun to move. Across the lands of the east, in the sands of Kemet, Egypt, the priests of Ra watched the horizon glow unnaturally bright. The sacred flame that once burned only within the temple of Heliopolis now flickered on the banks of the Nile. The pharaoh's seers whispered of a light carried by men, not gods. A heresy was born. Meanwhile, far to the north, in the misty lands of Thrace, blacksmiths found metal that sang when struck, metal said to have fallen from the sky. They called it the tears of the Titans. Each shard held strange power, glowing faintly when touched by fire. The people began forging tools and weapons unlike any before. They believed the gods had blessed them, but Callias knew better. It was the fire of Prometheus awakening across the world. He began his journey eastward, carrying the tablet wrapped in worn linen, hidden beneath his cloak. At every step, he felt the world changing. Farmers spoke of strange dreams. Children drew stars that did not exist. And in the night, the wind itself seemed to hum with invisible energy. The rebellion had begun, not with swords or banners, but with thoughts. Mankind had started to think beyond its limits, to question the rule of gods. The first burned in Athens, the second in Egypt, and the others spread across the earth, Mesopotamia, Indus, the lands of the east, even beyond the sea. Callias realized the truth. Prometheus's gift had been divided, hidden across civilizations. Each flame held a fragment of divine knowledge, and together they could reshape creation itself. But before he could speak, the earth trembled. The eternal flame atop the altar flared violently, turning blue. The sky outside darkened, and thunder boomed, though there were no clouds. The gods had felt the awakening. The high priest turned to him. "You have crossed a line that even the gods feared to walk." Callias lifted his gaze to the flame. "Then perhaps it's time they learned to fear us." The temple shuddered. Light burst from the tablet, spreading through the walls, through the streets, through the hearts of men and women who looked up to the sky that night and felt something awaken inside them. Courage, curiosity, rebellion. Across the world fires were lit, some in secret, some in defiance. A movement began, a quiet rising of minds. The rebellion of light was no longer a whisper, it was a storm of awakening. The gods had ruled with fear, but Prometheus's fire had given mankind something far more dangerous: hope. And hope once born cannot die.
And the gods were watching.
High above Olympus, thunder rolled, though no storm could be seen. Zeus sat upon his throne, his eyes reflecting lightning, his hand tightening around the bolt. He could feel the warmth of Prometheus's gift spreading again. "They forget," he murmured, voice echoing through eternity. "They always forget who gave them life." Beside him, Athena's gaze softened. "Or perhaps, Father, they are only remembering who they are." The silence that followed was heavy, divine, unending. Back on Earth, Callias reached the shores of the Nile. The city of Memphis rose before him, golden and ancient, alive with ritual. He sought the temple of Thoth, the god of wisdom, for he believed Thoth held the key to decoding the tablet. The priests denied him entry. "No man enters the house of a god without the mark," they said. But that night, as Callias slept outside the temple walls, he dreamed of a white ibis bird, the symbol of Thoth, landing upon the tablet and whispering words of light. When he awoke, a faint symbol glowed upon his palm, the mark of knowledge. The guards saw it and stepped aside. Inside, the temple air was heavy with incense and silence. Pillars stretched to heaven, carved with glyphs older than language. At the altar, a scroll rested beside a flame that never died. The high priest approached, his eyes clouded yet knowing. "You are not the first to carry the fire," he said softly, "but you may be the last." The tablet shimmered as Callias placed it upon the altar. The symbols rearranged themselves, shifting like living light. From its surface arose a projection, a map of the ancient world, marked by 7 burning points. "7 flames," the priest whispered, "7 awakenings." The fire of Prometheus had awakened. It was no longer a single spark hidden beneath the Acropolis or a flicker carried in a golden tablet. It had spread like veins of light across the world, touching lands where mortals slept, unaware of the powers stirring beneath their feet. Athens hummed with a strange energy. Shadows whispered, and streets seemed to glow faintly beneath the moonlight, as if the city itself had taken breath and held secrets meant for the daring alone. Callias walked through the marble streets, the tablet wrapped in worn linen against his chest. Every step echoed with centuries of forgotten knowledge, and the very wind seemed to push him forward. Merchants hawked their wares, philosophers argued, children laughed, yet all felt a strange pull, an unseen hand urging them toward destiny. For the fire, once buried and forbidden, had begun choosing its champions. Across the Aegean, the sea shimmered under the dawn. Callias's journey had just begun. He looked back once toward the Parthenon, its columns bathed in the early light, and wondered if he would ever see Athens the same way again. The world was alive, and for the first time it seemed to watch humanity not as servants of the gods, but as equals with the power to shape fate itself. As he sailed south, islands passed like silent sentinels. On one, smoke rose from volcanic cliffs, the first sign that fire had not only awakened among men, but that the earth itself answered the flame's call. Priests of old, guardians of secrets older than memory, appeared in shadows to greet him. They spoke in hushed tones of the eternal fire, a gift lost and found countless times across history, waiting for the one who could carry its knowledge forward without being consumed by it. Days passed, and the shores of Egypt appeared, golden sand stretching beneath a relentless sun. There, the Nile reflected a sky ablaze not with flame, but with the glow of destiny. Callias traveled upriver, his sandals crunching against stone and sand, drawn toward temples hidden in the shadows of massive pylons. The priests there had heard whispers of Prometheus's fire, a knowledge that could illuminate minds or burn civilizations. In secret chambers beneath the temple of Ra, Callias met the Brotherhood of Flame. Their eyes glimmered with understanding and warning. "The fire chooses," the elder said, his hands tracing symbols on the walls. "It will spread wherever hearts are ready. But beware, knowledge is never neutral. It can build or it can destroy." The tablet pulsed in Callias's hands, and in that rhythm he felt both the weight and the wonder of what he carried. Nights were no longer dark. The stars seemed to lean closer to the earth, as though curious to witness this awakening. Dreams came to Callias with voices of long-dead sages, titans, and even gods who whispered of trials yet to come. He realized that the fire was not only a gift, but a test, a force that would touch every corner of the ancient world, and that each act of courage, each spark of understanding would weaken the grip of Olympus itself. By the time he reached the Nile Delta, the flame had already begun to inspire mortals. Farmers creating tools imbued with knowledge, scribes writing in forgotten scripts that mirrored symbols on the tablet, children seeing visions of distant lands and ancient battles. The rebellion of light was no longer hidden. It was awakening across the civilizations of man, and even the distant mountains whispered of a coming storm, a storm that would challenge gods and mortals alike. And in that golden night, as torches flickered across secret chambers, Callias understood a truth that would shape everything. The fire was alive, and it had chosen humanity not merely to survive, but to rise, to learn, and to remember the power they had always carried within themselves. Dawn broke over the Nile, spilling gold across the waters. Callias stood at the riverbank, the tablet still warm in his hands, as if it had been alive all night, guiding him. The river stretched endlessly, shimmering under the sun, carrying whispers of civilizations long forgotten. Each ripple seemed to hum with secret knowledge, each wave a message for the one who would listen. As he sailed upriver, the temples rose like guardians of eternity. Massive pylons carved with hieroglyphs told stories older than memory, of gods who once walked among men, of kings who ruled with fire in their veins, and of mortals who dared touch what should not be touched. The tablet pulsed with a faint golden light, reflecting these ancient stories back at him, as if confirming that he was not lost, but chosen. In secret chambers beneath the temple of Ra, the air was heavy with incense and history. Priests emerged from shadows, their eyes bright with understanding, their hands tracing patterns older than any book. "The flame chooses its path," the eldest whispered. "It has chosen you, Callias, and with it the knowledge of civilizations past and future." Nights on the Nile were alive with whispers. Fires danced across riverbanks where mortals gathered secretly, following the faint light of the tablet. Some saw visions of the gods' fury, others glimpsed the vast potential of mankind. Callias began to realize that the flame did not merely illuminate knowledge, it tested courage, morality, and the very essence of life itself. One evening, under a sky painted with auroras unseen in this world, Callias watched a procession of priests carrying torches along the riverbank. Shadows stretched unnaturally, flames flickered as if alive. The tablet's glow intensified, and he understood that what he carried was not simply a tool, but a living legacy, a spark of divine rebellion in human hands. And so, with each mile upriver, each step into chambers filled with forgotten relics, Callias felt the weight and wonder of history pressing around him. The fire of Prometheus was awakening in countless hearts, across civilizations, across deserts and mountains, across time itself. And the world, once silent and obedient, began to stir, aware that the age of gods was ending, and the age of light was beginning. In the dusk of forgotten empires, as the sun bled into the red horizon, a lone traveler walked the desert's edge. His name was Callias, the keeper of light, the wanderer who defied Olympus and carried the fire of forbidden wisdom. Behind him lay the sands of Egypt, whispering secrets of gods and men. Ahead, Babylon, the city that never slept, the empire where mortals dared to rival the divine. For 7 nights he followed a burning star that cut across the heavens like a blade. It spoke to him in dreams of towers that kissed the clouds and temples that consumed the sky. The voice of Prometheus echoed in his mind. The fire is no gift, Callias, it is a burden, and those who claim it will burn with it. When he reached the gates of Babylon, the air was thick with gold dust and incense. Giant bowls of stone guarded the entrance, their eyes glowing with an unnatural fire. Merchants, priests, slaves, all moved like threads in a single, pulsing heart. Callias felt the power beneath the city, a rhythm that beat like molten metal beneath his feet. Soft echoing choir, sound of forges and chanting priests. The priests of Marduk welcomed him with deceitful smiles. They saw the light in his eyes, not as a gift, but as a weapon. In their temples they were building something, a machine of gods and men, a forge where souls could be bound to fire. They called it the Heart of Heaven. Callias was offered a place among them, to become the keeper of the forge, the high seer of flame. Yet, as he walked through the golden halls, he saw the truth. The fire that once gave life now enslaved it. The same light Prometheus had gifted to awaken humankind was being used to blind them. Among the slaves of the temple, a secret movement stirred. They called themselves the Children of Dawn, those who believed the fire must be free again. Their leader was a woman named Amara, whose eyes shone brighter than the torches of the temple. She spoke to Callias not as a prophet, but as an equal. "If the gods claim the fire, then we shall become gods ourselves," she said. Callias hesitated. He had seen empires rise and fall in the name of light. He had seen men worship the flame until it consumed them. But Amara's courage reignited something within him, the same defiance that once made Prometheus steal from Olympus. The night of rebellion came under a crimson moon. The heart of heaven roared like a beast as priests poured molten gold into its veins. The children of dawn stormed the temple, unarmed but fearless. Fire met flesh. Blood met dust. The flames of Babylon rose high enough to touch the stars. In the chaos, Callias reached the core of the forge. He placed his hand on the burning crystal that powered the heart. It screamed with voices, thousands of souls trapped within, each begging for release. He whispered, "Be free," and the fire answered. Babylon burned that night, not from wrath, but from liberation. The golden towers melted like wax. The priests vanished in their own creation. And from the ashes, the children of dawn walked into the dawn of a new age. Callias stood upon the ruins, his robes torn, his heart heavy. "The fire cannot be owned," he said softly, as the morning sun painted the smoke in hues of gold. "It lives through those who dare to see beyond fear." As he turned to leave, Amara stopped him. "Where will you go now?" He looked eastward, toward the mountains where storms never ceased. "To the place where light meets thunder, for there the gods still whisper, and I must learn why." And so began the next chapter of the wanderer's journey, from the ashes of Babylon to the shadowed peaks beyond mortal sight. The fire still burned within him, but now it was no longer his to carry. It belonged to the world, to every soul that dared to dream beyond the chains of heaven. This was the age when empires burned, when mortals defied fate, when light rebelled against the gods themselves.